Pretty sure this is my second Reading Like a Booktuber video, and I chose to do Brittany the Bibliophile. For these I kind of want to do between 3 to 5 books this time, just so that I could get the video out and it not take all year. I decided to do 3. I went through and watched a bunch of her videos looking for like her favorites, and went through and tried to choose ones that I felt like represented her channel overall for the last few years. I read Throne of Glass. I did listen to Assassin's Blade before, just so that, because that's the prequel to Throne of Glass, so that I can have the pretext of what's going on. Throne of Glass has been a booktube darling since it came out, so I knew that I definitely wanted to read it. I did not read, well, yeah, I didn't read it physically. I was going to, but then I'd gotten the audiobook, so I listened to Throne of Glass. And then I also had Nevernight, and I had listened to Nevernight as well. I had started to read it physically a couple years. I had started to read it physically, and then to try to actually fit it into what my current schedule was like, I'd listened to this as well. And then I also had listened to The Vampire Academy, and I found that it was easy to be able to listen to the audiobooks while I was at work. On the days that I opened, there was enough time to fit it in between everything, which was nice. Let's start with Vampire Academy. It is Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, read by Stephanie Wolfe. I've listened to the audiobook. I liked it. It sounded good. I liked the voices. It was enjoyable. The brief non-spoiler description is that it's 2 girls at a vampire school. It's about their friendship, it's about love, it's about popularity, about learning about it wouldn't be the main character, but her best friend, Alyssa, learning about her special powers and the people who want to exploit her, and about Rose, the main character, and her interaction with Alyssa and helping her. Summarize. Alright, so a big part of the book was basically the friendship arc of Rose and Alyssa. It was a strong friendship. We're going to start getting into some spoilers a little bit. They were bonded mentally and magically, so Rose could kind of see and hear what Alyssa was experiencing and could feel her emotions. Rose was, gosh, I can't even remember the different types. I know the Strigoi were the bad ones that would drink blood and kill people. Then you had the Moroi. I'd have to look it up. But basically you had the vampires, you had their helpers, or protectors. Alyssa was the vampire, Rose was her protector, who is human. And then you had the Strigoi, which are like bad vampires that will actually kill their prey, I guess. And part of the book was looking into the history of some of the vampires to try if there were some other people in history who had the same kind of powers as Alyssa. And they usually would go mad or would stay stable due to their bonded person, or they would turn into Strigoi, into the bad vampires. Both girls get romantic interests, and you see those romance arcs happen. They start and they have struggles. There was somebody leaving dead animals for Alyssa, so that was creepy. Alyssa's uncle, this is a big spoiler, Alyssa's uncle had political motives to use Alyssa's powers. The book was wrapped up enough to get the main gist of what was going on, but also open enough to kind of want to know what else is going to happen. So I enjoyed that. Pretty sure that there are sequels. I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure. It is YA, young adult. It felt YA, young adult, but not in a bad way. It was alright. I enjoyed it. I would rate it a 4 out of 5, and yes, I do plan on continuing the series. I'm gonna have a video series called Finish That Series, and Vampire Academy is gonna be one of them that I try to finish eventually. So I will continue that series. Then, book number 2, Nevernight. Like I said, I had started to read this physically, and then in part of January and February I had listened to this on the audiobook. It is Nevernight Book 1 by J. Kristoff. The main character is Mia, and she's learning how to be an assassin to avenge her family. It is written in like a dual timeline so that you see what Mia is doing currently and then also her childhood that led her to this point. It is so that timeline of her past is kind of written like flashbacks. And I believe that she is 18 or 16. I can't remember, one of the two. So it's kind of a bit of a coming of age as well, but for an assassin, so it's different. She has to go to a school for assassins. There at the school is this really cool old library, and in it there are like real bookworms, like these giant, think Tremors size worms that go through the library that they will eat you. The book had a ton of comedy in it, and I greatly enjoyed that. There was a lot of action, some political things going on. It was quite fun. I enjoyed it, and I liked all the characters. Names are escaping me. There were many moments that I was snickering. There were some moments that I was like, what? You know, so it was comical listening to that at work, and then I'd have these like weird face expressions and people were like, huh? But there was a lot of cool world building, and it used the writing style of not just the dual POVs of like current and flashback, but it also had footnotes. So in the audiobook, it would go through, and then any time that there was a footnote in the book, there would be an asterisk, and then you would look down and see the footnote. So with the audiobook, it would actually read that footnote. So which each of the footnotes would kind of give mostly a lot of world building, not too much character backstory. Most of the footnotes were world building, and usually comical, so that was cool. I would say that some of that world building that are in the footnotes, I feel like will probably play a part in the plot later on, in like the future books, I think. But I have not read the rest of the books to know that for sure, but I have a feeling that it will. Nevernight is another one of the BookTube darlings, and I had seen Pierre Ford's adaptation of the first couple chapters, and that got me interested in reading Nevernight as well, on top of Brittany's mentioning of it. I'd seen a bunch of other booktubers mention it over the years as well. I would also rate Nevernight a 4 out of 5, and it is another series that I intend to continue. The Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, read by Elizabeth Evans. I listened to the audiobook. It is about Selena, who is imprisoned in a death camp and taken out and whisked away to a castle by a prince who wants her to compete to be the king's champion in exchange for her freedom. She has to face competitors, a dark evil, and her past. I had read Assassin's Blade before. I believe I did the ebook for that one, which explains more of her backstory before she was put into the prison, how she got there, her relationship with Sam, because we hear about Sam in Throne of Glass and how she's sad, but Assassin's Blade actually explains that whole relationship and everything. So I was glad to actually, it is a good idea to read the Assassin's Blade before Throne of Glass. Assassin's Blade is shorter stories that kind of tell what happens. I think it's like 6 short stories that tell the whole story. So I do suggest reading that first. I liked the love interests and those arcs of the possible love interests in Throne of Glass. I liked the competition that she had with the other competitors and what all that entailed to try to become the king's champion. That had a lot of interesting moments, a lot of actiony moments, brain moments. It was cool. There was some world building history, there was some supernatural aspects, and some magic that intertwined with everything, and all that was pretty cool. Throne of Glass, like I said, is a BookTube darling, and honestly I would rate this a 5 out of 5. You'll find it with my rating, I'm generous with a lot of my ratings, that like if I like it, it's gonna be a 4 or a 5. If it was okay, I'd put it at a 3. If I was it'd be a 2, and if I didn't like it, like a 1 or a 0. But this, 5 out of 5. And yes, I do plan to continue this series. But yeah, so as far as, I don't know that I really want to try to compare my taste to other booktubers. I don't feel that I'm qualified to do that. I'll let you, the audience, do that, I guess. But I have been watching BookTube since 2016, at least 2016, and I have watched Brittany's channel for quite most of that time. I believe that I found her in that first year that I was watching BookTube. In this last couple years, I'm running behind on keeping up with everybody, so I need to catch up with a lot of people on BookTube and watching their videos. But yeah, I will definitely continue watching her channel and seeing what she's up to. I love watching BookTube because, like, for me, it feels like hanging out with best friends and finding out what's going on in their day-to-day life and what they're interested in and how they're doing and stuff. So it gave me that social aspect even before, you know, the whole big everybody stays inside, you know. It was kind of comical because when that all started, I was like, oh, now everybody gets to live how I do. Like, I just get up, go to work, come home, you know, do my errands, and that's it. Like, in real life, I can be social, but I'm not social. Sometimes I wish I was more social, but then again, I'm very protective of my time to do my hobbies and hang out with my family, so I don't know. I don't mind. I've grown up as a hermit, for sure. I've lived the hermit lifestyle most of my life. So this is like doing the BookTube YouTube stuff is one way for me to kind of break out of that hermit shell a little bit, but not fully. But yeah, I have found, as far as my reading experience goes, that I prefer reading physically so that I can take more notes, because it's hard to listen to the audiobook, work, and take notes, but I do it. But I feel like I could consume it a lot better if I were to read it at home and listening to it at the same time too. I did that yesterday with my best friend's exorcism. I was actually reading it on my phone and listening to it from the Audible, and that was actually quite enjoyable. I liked that. That gives me both. So I feel like I want to try to do that with future books. I have Audible, I have Kindle Unlimited, I have the Libby app, so I can totally like try to borrow either the ebook or the audiobook depending on what I have and what I need, so that I can kind of cut down on costs a little bit. Book 3 was Throne of Glass, which I do have physically, but I had listened to the audiobook. I think that when I do finish that series for this one, that I'll do the physical so that I can actually take notes from it for my commonplace. I had wanted, before, I'd wanted to try to do writing and get into that. So that was a big reason why I wanted to build a commonplace. Okay. My tastes in books are all over the place, just like my tastes in music are all over the place. I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, so I grew up during the age of making a ton of mixed CDs with everything. Like, I would have Disney and musicals and Pink and the popular top 40 and some rock, and then mix in a little Insane Clown Posse and some old rock and roll. So my taste in music is very eclectic, and I would say that my taste in books are also very eclectic. I love reading some nostalgic children's books. I like horror. Contemporary romance is a so-so for me. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I'm like, eh. So it varies on that. I can enjoy it if I'm in the right mood for it. I plan on kind of dabbling in a little bit of everything for my channel. Anyways, I'm starving, so I'm going to end this video now. I think I've pretty much said everything I needed to for this one. It's been a while since I've done a lot of filming, so I gotta try to get back into the routine, and I feel like kind of like when you haven't rode a bicycle for a while and then you get on it and it's kind of like wobbly, like I haven't quite gotten my balance back on filming. Like I feel comfortable, but I don't feel comfortable, you know, like there's some kinks I need to work out, but I'll get there. But yes, I am starving, and I think